Sailors thrash in storm-churned water, swimming desperately toward shore, only to find the sheer, unscalable cliffs rising straight from the sea. Below them, sharks. Behind them, the splintered wreckage of 300 warships. No Greek army did this, no Greek fleet. A mountain did. Before Marathon, before the 300 Spartans, Persia launched its first strike against Greece. Almost nobody remembers it because nature itself ended the campaign in a single afternoon. To understand how 300 ships ended up at the bottom of the Aegean, we need to go back to the grudge that launched them. In 499 BC, Greek colonies on the coast of Anatolia, the Ionian cities, revolted against Persian rule. Athens sent 20 ships to help the rebels. The revolt failed. Persia crushed it. But Darius I now had a target. Athens had dared to burn Sardis, a Persian provincial capital. Darius ruled the largest empire the world had ever seen, stretching from Egypt to Central Asia. Greece, a patchwork of tiny, quarrelsome city-states on his western frontier, looked like easy prey. In 492 BC, Darius launched his invasion. The commander, Mardonius, a royal prince married to Darius's daughter. Mardonius wasn't just a general, he aimed to become satrap of conquered Greece. A satrap is a Persian provincial governor, the most powerful position below the king himself. His plan relied on combined arms. An army would march overland through Thrace along the northern Aegean coast. Roughly 300 warships, mostly Phoenician triremes, would sail in parallel just offshore. A trireme was the standard warship of the era, a sleek galley powered by about 170 oarsmen. These crews couldn't sleep at their oars. Every night, the fleet had to beach so sailors could eat and rest. The army protected those beachheads. The fleet carried supplies the army couldn't haul overland. Each force depended on the other. Split them apart, and both become vulnerable. The route wasn't arbitrary. It passed through some of the most valuable territory in the Aegean. The island of Thasos and nearby Mount Pangaea on the mainland held rich gold and silver mines, the economic engine of the northern Aegean. Controlling these could finance the campaign and everything after it. Meanwhile, Darius sent heralds to Greek city-states demanding earth and water, symbolic tokens of submission, the ancient equivalent of signing a surrender document. Every city faced a binary choice, submit or fight. The march proceeded smoothly. Tribe after tribe across Thrace surrendered. Macedonia submitted. Persia's western frontier now extended deep into the Balkans. Everything was working, and then the fleet reached Mount Athos. Mount Athos is a narrow, finger-like peninsula jutting south into the northern Aegean. At its tip, a peak rises over 2,000 meters, 6,600 feet, almost directly from the sea. The fleet had to round this cape to continue south. There was no alternative. Here's why that was lethal. High mountain peaks create what meteorologists call katabatic winds. Cold air pools at the summit grows denser than the surrounding atmosphere, and gravity pulls it down slope, accelerating as it descends. By the time it reaches the sea at the mountain's base, it's a violent southern gale. Athos manufactures its own storms, and the coastal cliffs along the peninsula drop vertically into deep water. No harbor, no beach, nowhere to shelter. For a fleet of wooden warships that needed calm water to survive, this peninsula was a geophysical trap. A fierce north wind triggered the katabatic effect. 300 ships were caught rounding the cape, open sea behind them, no harbor ahead. The storm didn't build slowly, it slammed down from the peak. Herodotus describes what followed. Ships dashed against the rocks, others capsized in the churning waves. Thousands of sailors, many from Phoenicia, the ancient world's greatest seafaring civilization, were thrown into the water. Some swam for shore. They reached the cliffs and found vertical rock rising straight from the sea. No beach, no ledge, no way to climb. Below them in the water, sea creatures, Herodotus specifically mentions men seized and devoured. The entire fleet was annihilated, not in battle, but in hours. With the fleet gone, the army lost its supply line, its means of transport, its path forward. Mardonius had no choice. He ordered the withdrawal. Most histories call this a straightforward Persian catastrophe. They're half right. Persia lost 300 ships, thousands of irreplaceable Phoenician sailors, and all momentum towards southern Greece. Mardonius's reputation was damaged, but Persia didn't abandon everything it had gained. Garrisons and administrators stayed in place across Thrace and Macedonia. Those territorial gains held. Earth and water submissions from city-states remained in force. The gold and silver mines of Thasos and Pangaea now generated revenue for the Persian treasury. The empire's western border had advanced hundreds of miles in a single campaign season, even as its fleet lay scattered on the seafloor. This was simultaneously a spectacular naval disaster and a successful territorial expansion. Hold both facts at once, and you'll begin to see how empires process failure. Darius drew a specific lesson from the catastrophe: never sail around Mount Athos again. The next invasion in 490 BC bypassed the northern route entirely, crossing the open Aegean to land directly at Marathon. A generation later, Xerxes prepared an even larger invasion and ordered something extraordinary: a canal cut straight through the Athos Peninsula, wide enough for 2 triremes side by side. Its remains are visible today. That canal tells you everything about how deeply this disaster shaped Persian strategic thinking. The Persian Wars weren't a simple story of Greek courage against Persian tyranny. Geography, weather, logistics, and contingency shaped outcomes as much as any hoplite shield wall. Persia's response to this catastrophe wasn't retreat, it was adaptation. They held their gains, redesigned their approach, and came back. Next time, there will be no mountain to save Greece.